going to be an extensor, right? Or anything that's anterior. Anything that's posterior is going to be extensors, right? Extending. So, if we start with the shoulder, the main muscles here that you're going to see are the deltoids, right? So for the deltoids, you have the anterior, lateral, and posterior fibers. This guy, the main action I want you to consider for the deltoids is going to be abduction of the arm. But the anterior and posterior fibers do play a role in the arm swing, right? Both as you go anterior and posterior. Right? But again, think abduction, right, on the deltoids. To make our way down to the brachium, the first visible muscle that you see here is the biceps brachii. For the biceps brachii, remember this is going to be a synergist in elbow flexion, right? So flexing the elbow. As you go deep to that, right, so you can see this flat muscle here, and from the lateral aspect you would see that there. That's your brachialis muscle. So brachialis muscle. This is the prime mover in elbow flexion. So biceps brachii, brachialis. Both of them are going to flex the elbow.
Makes sense.
Here's the coracobrachialis, just as a reference. You really didn't cover that guy, but it's also going to be a synergist for flexing that elbow. Making our way down, the muscle that we're missing here is the brachioradialis. Brachioradialis. So this is one more synergist for elbow flexion. Now if we look at these guys, so this is the left arm, so our fingers would essentially be like this. Right? So if you think back to what we said in lecture with the four digits, here's your pronator teres. Pronator teres, which is going to help in the pronation of the wrist, along with the pronator quadratus, which is deeper here. I don't think it's visible in this model. Right, but pronator teres. From there you have your flexor carpi radialis going out to the radial side. And this is going to be involved in flexing the wrist and flexion of the wrist at the radial end. In the center we have the palmaris longus, which in humans really doesn't play a big role in anything. And it kind of tenses up the skin as it contracts. And then finally, lateral to that, you have the flexor carpi ulnaris. Flexor carpi ulnaris. So again, it's on the anterior aspect. It's on the ulnar side, right? Here's the pinky. So ulnar side. And of course, it's going to flex here. So flexor carpi ulnaris. Deep to these superficial muscles, you can barely see it here, is the flexor digitorum superficialis. And deep to that would be the flexor digitorum profundus. In both cases, you're playing a small role in flexing the carpals, but the main action is going to be to flex the digits. And the superficial and profundus will have different digits that they really flex. So the superficial is kind of going to be on the ulnar side, and the profundus, the radial side. All you need to know is flex the digits, though. So that's everything on the muscles that we're concerned with on the anterior aspect. If we go to the posterior aspect, here's the triceps brachii. As far as the triceps brachii, obviously there's three heads. The ones that are visible from this posterior lateral aspect are the lateral head and the long head, which is along the bottom portion of the arm. The medial head you can typically see from this view, but it's not visible in this model. Right? But on the cat, it was right along the humerus from the ventral aspect. So the action for the triceps brachii is to extend the elbow. As we continue on down, and we're missing this guy here, but the first muscle you would see here, I think it's gone too because it was attached to the other one, is going to be the extensor carpi radialis, which again we're not seeing because it's missing. Right? And of course that guy would extend at the radial side. And you have the extensor digitoriums, which will extend the digits. Extensor digiti minimi right next to that, which extends out to the pinky. And then the extensor carpi ulnaris. Now big difference in the cat, the extensor digitorum and the extensor digiti minimi. In the cat, this one would be the extensor digitorum communis, And the extensor digiti minimi would be the extensor digitorum lateralis. So those are the only differences in names. Really, they're doing the same thing, extending all the digits. So just be aware of those there. As you go deep to that, you have the adductor pollicis, and then you would have the extensor pollicis as well, which you're kind of seeing there. And those are pretty much the muscles that we're going to be concerned with on the posterior aspect. Any questions? No?